share. Okay, cool. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Nice. So like Catherine mentioned, I'm going to be doing a presentation today on high performance in the workplace. So hopefully, pretty sure most of you guys are going to be graduating with either an internship offer or a full-time offer. So this presentation is going to give you some background about once you get into that role, what to expect coming in and what you can be doing on the job to help you become, one of the top performers at the job and succeed in your career. So a little bit about me. I'm an manager out of our Manhattan Beach office, and here's a picture of a nice beach that's like a 10-minute drive from our office. I've been with the firm now for around 5+ years, and I graduated from CSUN back at the end of 2016. And then I was involved in a lot of the accounting clubs at that time too, like Accounting Association. I was president of VITA ALPFA. So I always tell people, take advantage of the opportunities that these clubs give you to join the accounting clubs and be an active member. Like when I was in my accounting 350 class, I had no friends, and I just imagined myself my first day of junior year just going into class and walking in and then walking out and not talking to anyone. And 2.5 years later, I graduated, probably like 80+ friends in accounting, and a lot of whom I still keep in touch with today. And I have all the accounting clubs that I was a part of to thank for that. So trust me, once you get into the workforce, there's still ways to like build relationships with people, but the opportunities that these clubs give you are they'll help you right now and in the long run. So definitely take advantage of those. And here's a little bit of background just about our firm real quick. We're a top 35 public accounting firm in the US. We're a mid-tier firm. We have actually 13 locations now throughout the US because we actually just added a downtown LA office about a month ago. So we got 3 offices in Southern California, 1 in Manhattan Beach, 1 in Woodland Hills, and 1 in downtown. And we do your typical audit, tax advisory stuff like most public accounting firms. So at the end, I'm going to show you guys like a slide that shows the current positions we're recruiting for, but we have opportunities for most of you guys, whether you're a sophomore, junior, or senior. And if you're a freshman and you're in this presentation, I'm very proud of you, because I almost never imagined seeing freshmen involved in accounting clubs this early. So yeah. So now I'll dive into the actual presentation topics. So let's say, for example, you did all your recruiting, went to all the Meet the Firm events, did those fun interviews where you get asked these random questions and you got the internship or you got the job. Now what? How do you excel in the internship? How do you make sure you get that full-time offer? How do you make the most out of your career so you really enjoy your job and it's a job that you want to go to every day and where you really benefit from it? So that's what I'll be going over. So the first thing to keep in mind, and I get asked the question a lot, is what are the expectations for interns? How much accounting knowledge do I have to know coming in? So here's an example of a question of, all we expect you to know is basic accounting knowledge. So for example, which asset cannot be depreciated? Whoever answered this question probably didn't pass their 220 class, because we all know here, hopefully, that the answer is land and not building improvements. So what I'll add is that when you start an internship, we just expect you to know a lot of basic things about accounting, like what is a balance sheet and an income statement, what is a cash flow statement, stuff like that. We don't expect you to have stuff from your accounting 450 class memorized down to the dot. So don't feel like if you're about to start an internship, you have to go in and restudy a bunch of material that you didn't learn. But also don't come in with the mindset that you have to know nothing. We do expect, like if you work on the audit side, we'd expect that our interns, have some basic accounting knowledge on the areas that I just mentioned. But at the same time, we don't expect you to know everything. So we have had some interns here and there where they do struggle with like basic accounting knowledge, and we're kind of surprised by that. But then we also have some interns who come in and are like, this revenue code is in the codification is my favorite topic. And I'm like, dude, that's not true. I know you do more stuff in your free time than just read codification stuff. So kind of be in the middle, be that realistic person who has some accounting knowledge, but at the same time, don't come across as that person who is just trying to impress everyone in the interview. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Probably just minimize this, that'll make it easier. Cool. So taking an audit tax class is one thing, but practicing it is another. So you got this dude and I love the memes, by the way. One of the ways I survive busy season is pulling up my phone in the middle of the day and reading accounting memes. So expect to see a lot of accounting memes throughout this presentation. And I tried to make sure I kept them all safe for work content, even though there were some really funny ones that I wanted to throw in. So you'll see a lot of memes throughout this presentation. But you got this guy on the right who's probably a new hire, and he thinks to himself, because he has an accounting degree, he understands everything. Then you got all his coworkers who've been working here for a while telling him, nope, you don't know anything yet. You're going to learn anything on the job. You're going to learn everything on the job. And that's a very true statement when you go into public accounting. Like I said, audit and tax classes give you some background knowledge that'll help you, have some basic understanding about audit and tax. And that's what we'd expect you to kind of remember. But what you'll be doing on the job is completely different than what you're learning in these classes. So the best way to be successful as an intern or as a new hire is being open to learn. Don't come in on the first day coming across as like you're an expert in this field. Just come across as someone who, when you're starting off, you're going to have a lot of people teaching you. You're going to be sitting through a lot of trainings, and a lot of the time it can get boring and overwhelming. But you just have to keep in the back of your mind that the people who are teaching you and the people who are giving this time to help you are doing it because all of this information is really relevant. And we know that you're brand new to this and you need all this information so you can be successful at this job. So if you're someone who's more kind of open-minded and open to learning and open to new experiences, you'll be a much better intern or new hire than someone who comes in and is kind of closed-minded, I've already done this before, I've already seen all this before, I can excel without your help. Because there are some people like that who come in sometimes too overconfident, think they're because they got 10 internship offers, they're the king of accounting, when in reality what you're going to do on the job is completely different than what you do in your classes. So if you're someone who is open to learning and open to listening, you'll be a lot more successful as an intern or a new hire, and you'll be a coworker that others want on your team and want to work with, which we'll go into in a little bit. But it's also one of the biggest things to be successful in public accounting is, are you someone that others want to work with? So continuing to go into what are you expected to know, you're only expected to know the basics of Microsoft Excel and Word. And just some examples that I threw in here are if formulas, that you need an equal sign before starting an equation. So we have, we do see interns every now and then who sometimes do struggle with some basic Excel and Word document skills. And we know that's because, colleges, you use them in your classes, but colleges really don't go into emphasis of teaching them. But a lot of this stuff is if you are using an Excel, if you have to use Excel for one of your accounting classes, I'm hoping you understand this basic stuff. I'm not expecting you to be an expert at pivot tables or a bunch of other random stuff that you'll learn on the job, but I am expecting you to understand how to use Microsoft Excel, and not for me to have to teach you basic functions. So that's one big thing, is being decent at Microsoft, having the basic skills of Microsoft Excel and Word is what you're expected to know when you start, so you can be successful as an intern or as an associate. So now here's a question of, how do you get better at Excel? So one thing to keep in mind is you'll never have 10 out of 10 Excel skills unless you're this person who made this drawing to the right. Whenever we interview people, one of the things we ask them is we ask them what do they think their Excel skills are. And whenever we hear a 10 out of 10, our other manager asks them a really hard Excel question. And if they're not able to answer that, we know that they weren't. The reason we ask them the hard accounting question or Excel question is you shouldn't say you're 10 out of 10 in Excel skills if that's not true. So you should really take a step back and ask yourself, hey, based off my college classes and what I've done, how good do I really think I am at Excel? Am I a 7 out of 10 because outside of using it in college classes, I also, use it for maybe like, hobbies or in just other areas? Or am I like more like a 4 out of 10 because, I'm still maybe a sophomore and a junior, and didn't have to use it a lot in high school and don't really use it outside college. So I'm still, pretty new to it. So really ask yourself, what are your real Excel skills? And then if you think you're like, it is an area that you can get better at, the best way to do it is to, just watch some YouTube videos that teach you basic formulas. If you come into an internship knowing a lot of basic Excel formulas, you'll definitely be a lot more successful and be a lot more, someone that others want to work with versus an intern or a staff who we have to kind of sit down with them and basically explain to them a lot of basics of Excel. So having some basic Excel skills and using these resources, YouTube, books, just continuing to practice the things that you learn is a really good way going into your internship or going into a new hire role to help you actually be successful in that position. But yeah, never tell anyone you're 10 out of 10 at Excel skills. I would probably rate myself like a 7, and I've been doing this for like 5 years. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Is off topic, but kind of on topic. Be honest and realistic when you answer interview questions. Okay, so now on the job, yeah, that you're an intern, you sat through all those trainings, and you're going to be given a lot of work to do, right? And you're going to be given a lot of responsibilities. And one of the number one challenges you'll always run into is, oh my God, they gave me this thing to do. They kind of explained it to me, but I don't know how to really do it. What do I do? So when you run into that situation, the first thing we almost always want new hires to do is we want people to take a stab at trying to solve a problem themselves. So if we let's say you're working in audit, you'll probably be told to, audit a balance sheet account like cash. If you're having trouble with that, some resources you might be able to use, for example, is opening up the prior year work paper, which is like, the audit that was done last year, and kind of seeing how they did it. Another thing you could do is you probably sat through a lot of trainings right after you started. There's a good chance they covered some of that stuff from their training. So you can pull up, your notes from the training to try to use that. There's a high chance there are other interns or associates that you're sitting right next to in the moment who may have, tested that account before, and they may be able to explain it to you in a couple of minutes. And that's another good resource to use and a good way to build relationships with your interns. So all of these are examples of how to use your resources to answer a lot of your problems. So, if you run into a problem, the solution, or if you run into a problem or a question, the solution isn't always to try to, immediately go back to the person 5 minutes later with that taught it to you and ask them to explain it to you again. The first step is to try to figure out, is there anything I can use that I currently have to try to solve this problem? And that's the skill you're showing there by doing that, is you're being proactive, right? You're not just the type of person who wants everything, wants every solution handed to you. You're taking some time to try to use your, brain and knowledge to try to solve some stuff yourself. So when you're doing, especially audit and tax work, on the audit side especially, the reason you're doing this work is to try to find differences and problems. So you have to come into the job expecting, differences / problems are going to come up. And, when they come up, it's usually bad news, because sometimes you have to spend a lot of time figuring it out. But if you come in with the mindset that, you're going to be, your goal is to try to find these problems and help solve it, you do a much better job than if you come in with the mindset of, I just got to do this work. Once this work is done, I can go home. So coming in with more of a problem solving mindset versus a getting work done mindset will definitely, help you be more successful. So if you're a new hire, you're given a lot of basic responsibilities, and a lot of the time you will find problems in there. Maybe you're asked to find this $500,000 that the accountant is saying going out of the bank account. You're asked to find this on the bank statement. Let's say you're not able to find it. And let's say you've used your resources, asking some other interns or looking at the prior year work paper, and you're still not able to solve it. So after you've done that, it's up to you to immediately communicate it to the person you're working with. Because if there's problems, we want to make sure that those problems get communicated to the client and the accountant as fast as possible so they can be corrected, right? that's the goal of our job, is to make sure that any problems we find get addressed, timely. So finding that balance between, taking a stab at solving the problem yourself, while at the same time communicating it timely, is one of the biggest things some people struggle with. Like we have some, new hires who spend like 1 hour sitting at their desk trying to solve a problem themselves. And we have to, remind them, hey, you shouldn't be spending 1 hour trying to solve this problem. You should be spending like around 20 minutes. And after that, you should try to get someone else involved. But then we've also had new hires who are like, we give them something to do and maybe they don't take the best notes. And then 5 minutes later, they come back asking us to explain it to them again. And in that case, well, we tell them, well, next time we teach you something, just make sure you're taking, more detailed notes, but also try to use your resources to solve it. So this is a big struggle that you'll face when you're a new hire trying to find the balance between the two. But at the end of the day, it comes down to being proactive and communicating well, right? If you communicate to your team that, hey, you gave me this task, I took these steps to try to get it done, this is what I was able to get done, and these are the problems I found, you'll be, someone on your team who's really, that other people want to work with. Versus if, you just find a problem and you never let anyone know, or you find a problem and you spend 3 hours trying to solve it, but aren't able to solve it. In either of those cases, it'll look bad because one, you spent too much time, or B, you didn't communicate it, and you didn't communicate it timely. So that's one big thing to keep in mind, and one good way to be like a team player on your job. Because as an intern, we're not expecting you to solve every problem, but we are expecting you to communicate it. One thing that a lot of people that go into accounting don't know is writing is really important. And you would think, accounting is all about math. That's what all non-accounting people think, right? Accounting is just math and adding stuff up, whatever. But especially on the audit and tax side, there's a lot of writing memos, and there's a lot of communication that you have to do with coworkers, clients, etc. And you have to make sure you're like professional when you're writing those, and that can get you a long way. And I'll just give you one example that, being a part of accounting clubs, I was, that gave me the chance to write a lot of emails, and that actually helped me improve my email skills. So I think coming into my first role, I had stronger, email writing skills than a lot of my starting class, and that really helped me. So here you got a meme to the example of per my last email. That, and here you got Yoda getting mad because he thinks, oh crap, there's something, this guy's trying to start a war with me. That's not a professional way to start an email, right? You should try to always come across as, that you're polite and that you care about the person you're working with. But then there will also be times where it's urgent and you really need something, and you gotta write an email in a way where the person takes it seriously and gives it to you. And that experience comes with time, but knowing how to write stuff like that will get you a long way. And a lot of the time, the big thing that a lot of people struggle with is you just got to pick up the phone and call someone. So that's another thing that as an intern or a new hire, you might not have to do immediately, but communication, being able to communicate professionally via email or over the phone is something really big that'll help you if you're pretty good at it. And one thing to just keep in mind is don't CC the entire office while messaging your coworker, or don't reply all to that email chain that accidentally got sent around the firm. There's times when that happens, and it's really funny when it happens, but it's better to just sit back and watch the fun of the email chains going around and everyone trolling each other. I think that happened once my senior year, and it was started at 6 a.m. and until noon, there was just this big email chain going around. So it's fun to read, but I wouldn't suggest chiming in on them to stay professional and all that. Okay, so another way to be really successful is to build relationships with the people around you, because public accounting, especially if you work in public accounting, you'll be working with a lot of like-minded people, and you'll be given so many opportunities to build relationships with coworkers, your starting class, clients. If you go to work in private accounting, for example, there are a lot of benefits of working in private too, but there are definitely fewer opportunities to build relationships. Because when you like work in private accounting, it's usually just, you and the accounting, you're just usually like working a lot with the internally with the accounting department. Whereas when you're working on like the audit and tax side of it, you'll have like this big training where you'll get to meet all the other new interns and A1s. You'll get to be directly communicating with a lot of these clients. And if you work on the audit side, you'll actually get to, maybe visit the client sites one day if COVID, gets more controlled, stuff like that. So using that opportunity while you're working in audit or tax to try to build relationships with coworkers is really, coworkers, your starting class or clients, is very, very big and something that a lot of people overlook. It can be really easy when you have a lot of work to just sit at your desk and, only work for, 8 to 10 hours a day and not do anything else. But if you're willing to kind of, take that, set aside a little bit of your time to really understand, what your client is going through, or maybe help your co-intern who has another question, that's a really good way to, help. That's a really good way to help you in your career. So the key word to take away from this slide is, of course, relationships. We got here Ang, who sometimes hates his client, but in this case really loves him because the client gave him everything timely, and because Ang only asked for the support ones. He didn't send out like 10 emails like I have to do sometimes to try to get everything. So the question is, how do you actually build these relationships? Sometimes you'll be like very busy and you're like, damn, do I really want to go out to lunch with coworkers, or do I even have the time to do this? So I would recommend, like, you don't have to go out to lunch with your coworkers every single time they invite you. There might be some times where you got to prioritize work stuff, but in general, like, try your best to, whenever you're given opportunities to, like, go out with coworkers, meet with clients, etc., to take advantage of those opportunities if you have the time. Don't be that person who just sits in the corner of the office and only works all the time. There are some interns like that who are just very, very quiet. It's hard to like tell if they're just scared or, what's happening, but the ones who are a little bit more proactive and are willing to kind of, go out, talk to people, and that they just treat everyone the same, right? Those are the ones who excel more than the ones who are kind of more, just who try to avoid the social part of it. And I know, like, a lot of us as like accounting majors are introverted. We're not the type of people who want to go out and talk for 2 hours with people, but most of the time you're just like with a group of other introverted people too, right? And it's pretty easy to talk, so nothing too scary about that. Let's see. And yeah, one big thing to remember is just like always make sure you treat everyone the same. Like, I'm a manager and sometimes we like hire new people and I can tell they treat me like, way like I'm a way higher person than others. And on the one hand, it's like true, you do want to like treat people above you like professionally and show like respect. But on the other hand, you do just want to, treat everyone like you would treat your best friend, right? Just treat them like a normal person. Don't treat them like they're this special, unique person, like a king or queen. If you come across as like that genuine person who just treats everyone the same, you'll come across way better. You'll, be someone that others want to work with a lot more than someone who kind of treats others either disrespectfully or treats others, too awkwardly, if that makes sense. And then finding mentors is another big one that a lot of people don't seem to take advantage of. Public accounting firms offer you like a lot of opportunities to go out and like find people who can really take the time to teach you and help you figure out what you want to do with your career, what you want to do with your life. And most of these people are actually really happy to take the time to do that, but most interns and associates aren't too proactive about that. They just kind of more focus on the work they're given and don't really want to take the time to do that. But if you're the type of intern associate who's like, hey, this public accounting firm is giving me all these resources, let me go out and find a mentor who can really help me learn what I want to do, how I can be successful at this firm, etc. That's another real good way to excel in the workplace. Okay, staying professional. That's something that you would think is a lot of common sense, but some people really struggle with it. You got Brad down here, who's an intern, who's calling everyone bra and is on his phone all day. He's probably going to be one of the few interns in your starting class who might not get a full an offer, which is pretty rare, because I would say like out of every 10 interns, 9 get an offer. So as long as you're not like Brad, you'll probably get a full-time offer. But some things to keep in mind to not be like Brad is make sure you like dress for success. CSUN's accounting program does a really good job of like, encouraging that through the meet the firms and all that stuff. So that's not usually something CSUN students I know to struggle with. But if you're unsure like what the dress code policy is at the firm or at the client site you're going to, always double check with your senior, your manager, whoever you're working with. It's not good to show up into like a client's office in like a suit and tie and everyone else is wearing, pretty laid back clothes, because then you'll stand out. But it's also not good to be on the opposite side where you may have a client that is very professional and you show up in pretty non-professional clothes and they're like, wow, this person, doesn't, that can come across as disrespectful. So, like in our Manhattan Beach office, our, dress code policy is pretty laid back. So they're not too strict on the rules here. But I know like in our Fort Worth office, they're a little bit more strict on the dress code rules. And they just like it. They just like it will dress more professionally. So making sure, you understand what the dress code policy is, and that you actually follow it is a good way to be successful. And then just making sure what you do and say is also professional. There's a lot of the time, there's like stuff you can say, like this example right here that you might want to say, to your friends, but that's not a good thing to say. It's like, that's not maybe the best way to, that's not the most professional way to talk to someone some of the time. Okay, let's say you work in audit and let's say you're at the client site. Let's say you're required to be there like 3 out of 5 days a week. How do you be successful in that? Well, the biggest thing, number one, is to arrive on time. There will be, again, and it just goes back to talking with your team and figuring out, hey, what's arriving on time? You don't want to be there at 7 a.m. when the client site hasn't opened until 9 a.m. You're sitting in your car for 2 hours in your hot suit, sweating to death. But at the same time, you don't want to be there at 9 o'clock when, the entire team's already been there at 8 o'clock. And then you arrive in late and then you have to walk, to the room and everyone who's working there is staring at you. So it just comes down to understanding the expectations, talking with your team and making sure you follow those expectations. And then how long you have to stay and what days will be there just falls into that same boat, right? Sometimes you'll have to be at the client site for like 5 days. Sometimes you'll have to be there for 2 days. It's good to have a good understanding of that upfront by asking your team, hey, what days are we here? Because again, you don't want to have to go to the client site on a Friday and then realize no one was going to be there on a Friday and then you have to drive back in Friday traffic. That's not going to be fun. And then biggest rule, don't take someone else's lunch from the fridge. Our office used to have this joke where we had like a banana thief who would always, our admin would always get us like bananas and put them in the kitchen. And then within a couple of days, all the bananas would be gone. And we would be like, who's this dude stealing all the bananas from our office? We got to find him. And I think we figured out who it was, but we didn't want to cause any drama. So we just kind of left it quiet, but don't be that person that steals things from the office or steals things from the client site and just takes them home for yourself. That's pretty, you would think, common sense, but do see it every now and then. Okay, so one of the biggest things you could do is getting to know the firm and trying to understand what your goals are with your career, right? To the side here, I just went to our website and copy pasted all of the different industries that we offer. So after you pick between audit and tax, or advisory, you get to specialize in a specific industry within. You can get the opportunity to specialize in a specific industry within that. So like, for example, with me, I mostly work on financial services clients, which is what our LA office specializes in. And within that financial services clients, bucket, I also get to do like a lot of private equity clients. So once you figure out which firm you have an internship or a full-time offer with, trying to see which industries they have and trying to ask yourself, hey, are there any that, stick out to me or something I would be interested in doing, is a really good way to show people that you're proactive and that you're really thinking about your career. And then actually networking with people in those departments in industries, and then speaking up and letting others know what you're interested in is a really good way to get your foot in the door on what you actually want to be, what you're actually interested in, right? Because what happens when you're a new hire is we hired 10 people this year. We want a bunch of new jobs. We literally just, have new jobs that we won. We need associates on them, and we just, schedule the associates on them randomly. And we don't, and the reason we just do it randomly is because, this job just needs an associate, and this associate hasn't really told us this is the type of stuff that they want to do, right? So you'll just get randomly scheduled on jobs based on where you're needed. However, if you're the type of person who, like, in your interview or after you got the job, emailed the firm and like told them, hey, thanks for giving me an offer. One other thing I'd like to point out is I would like to be on these type of clients. There's a high chance that that's something that they'll consider in their mind and do when they're scheduling you. So as of right now, literally, like if you don't speak up and say what type of industries you're interested in, you're kind of just like, firms usually give you the option between like commercial and financial services. That's like a pretty common thing at Big Four. But outside that, even within that bucket, there's a lot more. So if you're the type of person who kind of goes out and says, within these industries, I want to work in this, there's a higher chance you'll get like scheduled on clients that you really enjoy versus clients that you may not have an interest in. And I'll let you know, like if you go to work at like a Big Four firm, for example, whatever client you get put on the first year is probably the client you're going to be working on the next 2 to however many years you want to stay there. So that can literally make or break, the next 5 years of your life, right? So it's a really big thing trying to figure out what type of clients you want to work on and what you're interested in. Like I told our partner, I really like, venture capital and hedge funds, which are types of clients that fall in this bucket. And they were open to mostly giving me those type of jobs. And then that's like helped me, avoid being on type of jobs I don't like broker dealers and stuff. So the fact that I spoke up and told our partner the type of stuff I was interested in helped me get put on clients that I really enjoy working on. And then you may be thinking to yourself, wow, there's so many industries. How do I actually know which of these is for me? That's always the toughest part, right? Same picking between audit and tax. How do you know which one you like until you decide it? And it's the same answer. Easiest way is to just network with people in those departments, industries by attending events like this, asking them, hey, why did you pick financial services? Why did you pick, non-for-profit? Stuff like that. And then just asking yourself based off like your interest, which of these things do you think you'll like? Like if you like trading stocks and stuff, you may like financial services. If you like, there may be reasons you like technology because you like gaming and stuff like that. So stuff to keep in mind. Okay. Having an at-home work setup is also another big way to be successful in today's day and age, because a lot of firms are going to, part-time remote or even full-time remote now. So if you're someone who has like a strong at-home work setup, you'll be very successful. And literally, this meme couldn't be more true. A second monitor will change your life when you work in audit or tax. If you do not have a second monitor, trying to agree something from point A to point B is very, very hard. So I've tried working a couple of times, like at a coffee shop with just my laptop, and I wanted to cry that I didn't have a second monitor. So investing in 2 monitors or maybe even 3 or 2 monitors along with the laptop they give you at your firm is like a really good way to make sure you have a good at-home setup. Like invest in it before your internship starts or before your starting role starts. So, you're prepared in advance. And ask the firm if they provide resources to help you with your at-home work setup. Like I know our firm gives you the opportunity, literally gives out second monitors that people can use at home. So a lot of the bigger firms will offer that for you. So, you don't have to go out and buy the most expensive monitor at Best Buy. Your firm might be willing to provide it for you, similar to how they provide, like CPA review courses, all that good stuff. Yeah, lifestyle. So this is one thing that a lot of people in public accounting struggle with, because there's the whole, how do I have work-life balance?
How's it going, babe?
Yeah, how do you have like work-life balance in public accounting? How do you, work sometimes 55, 60 hours and still, maintain a life outside of that and maintain health? So some of the best ways to like do that is being sure, you prioritize sleep and you get up early, making sure that get up early is definitely a debatable one. I get up like at 8:30 and get into the office at 10, but I try to keep it consistent where I usually get in like around 9 to 10 every day and try to, fall asleep by a certain amount of time, by like midnight at latest some nights. So that's kind of the routine that I try to set up and stick with it. there will be like some people sometimes who are like, working until 1, 2 a.m. or they'll be out, hanging out with their friends on a Sunday night, even when they got to work the next morning. And that's like, that can happen every now and then, but it's definitely not something you want to do on a regular basis, right? You want to try to find a good routine and stick with it to help you get through some of those times when there's like long hours. Like right now for me, from the end of January till April, I work around 55 to 60 hours a week. So trying to maintain like a good routine has really helped me, not be overwhelmed and stressed. Whereas a lot of other people who don't do that will, struggle with that. And yeah, just like making sure that even when you're working long hours, you're still taking breaks, you're still taking time to, talk to your coworkers, talk to your friends. It's okay to like, pull out your phone every like, now and then just to read some messages and whatnot. You don't want to like do it obviously for like 20 minutes straight, but it's good to just get your mind away from the computer for a couple of minutes every now and then to help your health. And that's pretty much it. Went through that pretty fast because I talked pretty fast, but here's like the opportunities that we currently have. We got audit internships and tax internships, which you can apply for on Handshake. We got full-time positions for audit and tax. And we're hiring for start dates for both this coming August and the coming spring. So the coming fall and the following spring. And you can apply on Handshake. And then we're going to be doing interviews in the next couple of weeks virtually. So if you apply for an audit internship or an audit full-time position, because you're graduating this semester, there's a high chance that, if you get the interview, I'll be interviewing you along with like 2 of our other managers. So, and then here's my email address if any of you guys want to screenshot it and email me with any questions you have. So let me go back here. But yeah, stop sharing. And I think we can open it up for questions. It's like 20 minutes left. Oh, yeah, whoever wants to go first. I think I see 2 hands up, but I guess.
Can I go first, Brett? Okay. Yeah, I had a quick question. You were mentioning about, choosing like specific industry within audit and tax. And so let's just say for Weaver, I get the opportunity and I'm going into audit. There's so many options. Like, will the Weaver like require me to choose a specific industry right there once I accept it, or can I have some time before I officially start the position to network and know what industry I get to go into?
That's a good question. I would say like most firms wouldn't require you to know what industry you want to do right away. Most firms, what they'll do is if you work at like a big 4 firm, for example, they'll probably just put you on 1 or 2 clients. Because if you work like at a big 4 firm, you can't be on a lot of clients at once. So they'll, just put you on one specific client, one industry. So in that case, it might be harder to experience a lot of other industries, if that makes sense. But if you work like at a mid-tier firm, there's a high chance that you'll get put on like 4 or 5 clients in a lot of different industries. And that'll give you a chance to kind of get exposure to all those different industries and help you figure out which one you want to do. So if you work at at a bigger firm where you're only put on 1 client, getting exposure to a lot of different industries is tougher. So it will be, if you do have an interest in a specific industry, it is better to kind of speak up from the get-go. But if you work at a mid-tier firm, there's a high chance that you can like let them know, hey, can you expose me to a lot of different industries? And that'll help you figure out which one you want to do. So, but yeah, if you guys do go work at a big 4 firm, I can tell you from talking to so many people, speaking up from the get-go and letting them know what industry you want to work in can make or break your next 5 years of experience. So, but yeah, most firms won't require you to decide on the get-go which specific industry you want. They just want to know whether you want to do audit or tax.
Got it. Thank you. And just like one more follow-up question as well. Oh yeah. So let's just say, sorry, I got lost train of thought. Let's just say, you do pick an industry, but for like the business you just found out like you really don't like it. Is it better to change it after the business season ends, or is there a way you change it kind of halfway? Would it be like too much of a hassle?
It would probably be too much of a hassle to change it in the middle of busy season. Like for me right now, I'm managing probably 20 to 30 jobs right now. If my staff came to me and told me, hey, I don't want to work on this, hedge fund client, I want to work on private equity, I would definitely give them the opportunity to do that after season. But during season, it would be too tough because we've already scheduled out all the other staff and all the other jobs that need, people. So there's probably not many jobs to go around that still need a staff. And then I would have to go in and find a staff to replace this one, which again, is probably not going to be available because everyone's already been scheduled. So it's really hard to switch industries in the middle of busy season. But after busy season, you can definitely speak up and ask them, let them know what you like to do and or maybe what you didn't like about this specific type of industry. And there's a high chance they'll be open to letting you switch depending on what firm you work at.
Thank you.
Okay. Looks like Brett has his hand up too. Yeah.
Yes. Hi. So there was one point in the presentation where you're talking about balancing the work-life balance of it. So I'm just curious, how's your routine like, especially considering busy season right now?
For me, it's honestly pretty good. And that's one of the reasons that's kept me at the firm for over 5 years now. We work like around 55 to 60 hours only from the end of Jan to April. So a 3-month busy season for public accounting for me is like pretty chill when you compare it to a lot of other people I talk to in the industry. And a lot of the time, like the busy season you have is just honestly pure luck. Like I said, when you're a new hire, they just go through all the new hires, figure out which jobs need a staff and put the staff on them, right? So the type of busy season you can have, even if you and your friend work at the same firm, can be completely different. You guys are both working on different type of clients. So there is a lot of luck that goes into that factor. So like if you end up at a firm where, you're working maybe a busy season for 8 months, I would honestly suggest you go find a different firm after a couple of months, because there's a high chance that most public accounting jobs, wouldn't require that. But to answer your question, in general, our busy season is pretty like chill. End of Jan to April is a lot of hours, 55 to 60. May to June is like 40 hours, and you can take PTO during that time. But when you come back from your PTO, there's a good chance you'll have a lot of work piled up that you have to catch up on. But then July to December is pretty laid back, where a lot of people either just take vacation, they haven't passed their CPA, they're studying for that. And I would say like, if you're in the office 40 hours, you probably only have like 24 to 30 billable hours worth of work. And the rest of the time is more just kind of relaxing, studying, taking time off. Any other questions? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. So earlier you mentioned that overestimating your skills is really bad on you, especially if you can't really demonstrate them. So what if you're a person that usually likes to underestimate your skills? How bad can that be?
I'd much rather have someone who's on the latter, someone who underestimates their skills and then overachieves, versus someone who overestimates their skills and underachieves. There's like a common phrase in public accounting called overpromise and or underpromise and overdeliver, where if you tell someone, for example, hey, I'm gonna get this thing done by Wednesday, and you get it done Tuesday, there's gonna be a lot more chance that they're happy with you versus, if you tell them you'll get it done Monday, but give it to them Tuesday, if that makes sense. In terms of like underselling yourself in an interview and stuff like that, it's definitely good to bring up which areas you're like weak in and trying to improve in, but as long as you can support how you're trying to get better in that. So like, if you think you're a 4 out of 10 in Excel, let's say, for example, you can let someone know, hey, I don't think I have the best Excel skills, maybe because, I'm still, I just transferred here and didn't have much exposure to it growing up. But hey, now I'm taking a lot of classes where I'm getting exposure to Excel and I'm learning a lot of stuff like this. So as long as you can show someone how you're like improving in the area, that's a pretty good way to still show someone that, even if you're maybe on the weaker end of it, that you're like a good candidate. But yeah, not sure if that fully answered your question, but yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
So yeah, Brian.
Hello, I had a quick question. So I know that your firm primarily focuses in taxation and auditing. So it's a lot of accounting. Do you hire outside of accounting majors? Do you hire like other kinds of majors as well, like econ majors or finance majors?
Yeah, we hire like a lot of IT and finance majors. Like we have what's called like a valuation team. So I do audits of like investment companies, and these companies make investments that are hard to value, right? We have what's called a valuation team within our company, and most of the people in our valuation team probably have like a finance degree. So we definitely offer a lot of job opportunities like that. but we don't recruit from that like directly through Handshake. Like if you're interested in kind of stuff like that, you would apply through like our website. But us and most other public accounting firms definitely offer a lot of opportunities to ITAS or like IT and finance majors.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, Catherine, and I think one other person. Okay.
So part of like finding people to interact with is like, actually having people around, and there's always like hits and misses. Is there a way to sort of network in a way that doesn't leave like bad blood if you find someone where it's, or if you find a company where it's like, oh, you were really interested in them, and then you find out later that like maybe the recruiter is in fact being paid to say nice things and doesn't that they don't quite believe? Like, how can you sort of find out when people are like honestly saying nice things and when they're just saying it because they are on the clock at a recruiting event?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And that just comes down to like being able to read people, right? And then it also comes down to like, I personally think I'm pretty good at reading people. So I'm able to tell when someone's like over exaggerating something. If you're someone who's not the best at reading people, the best way to it's very hard to know that without knowing people within the firm, right? Like one of the things that scares me honestly about trying to switch jobs is most jobs that I would switch to would probably be, worse than this one because a lot of people are quitting that job and I have no way of knowing why people are quitting without knowing anyone in that company. So a lot of the time there is really no way to know what you're getting yourself into without really doing it, unless you know people internally within that company that you're close friends with and can kind of talk to. And that does make the recruiting process really tough. And that's why honestly a lot of this job search thing is there's a lot of luck involved in it, right? Like I got an offer with this mid-tier firm that no one had heard of at the time, and I'm really happy. I know a lot of my friends who got like offers with big four firms who, had like 5+ offers lined up and it didn't work out well for them. So there is like a lot of stuff that goes into that that's kind of out of your control. But a lot of the stuff that I went over, like trying to figure out what industry you want to do, trying to network with people within the firm to really understand, hey, if I can, build a relationship with this person who, is I like working with, there's a high chance I'll get a client with them. Trying to do stuff like that is one way to be ahead of other people in your starting class to be successful.
Okay. And if no one else has any other questions, I have another one real quick.
Mhm.
So I have heard lots of jokes about like managers fighting over like interns and associates and sort of lower levels to have them on their team. Is that like an actual thing? Like, is there a way to like just genuinely be like like so well liked or like so like useful that it's like people will fight for you?
Honestly, yeah, that does happen. There's like, for example, this past year we have 5 seniors, for example, right, that we got to split between 3 managers and among us. And there would be times where me and my managers would like debate amongst each other, hey, we all got these big clients. I call first dibs on this person. And that's literally just how it is. Sometimes like all of us have, really big jobs that are sometimes, hard and we need staffed accordingly. But then there won't be the resources around to fully get that, utilized. So we will have to, talk amongst each other. I think the like fighting part is more of just like a meme within it, but it's usually just done more like professionally. Everyone talks, goes through the clients they have, figures out, hey, these are the hard jobs. These are the people, who are, doing well and are on track to get promoted. Let's give them this opportunity to show that on track to get promoted and get a higher pay raise. And there'll be some people who are like struggling. And for people who are struggling, we'll try to, find jobs where we can help them learn more and stuff like that, versus throwing them on like the biggest client where it'll end up being like a lose-lose situation for everyone. So stuff like that definitely does happen during scheduling. Obviously, you want to be on the first end of the one people are fighting for, not the one where you're struggling. But even if you're like end up on the struggling end side of it, as long as you try to show people you're improving and stuff like that, it usually works out.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Hmm?
Let's see, we are in our final 6 minutes. Anyone else got some more questions? If you want to know more about the company or about actual like recruiting or work skills, those are both valid categories. Shy crowd today. Well, let's see. Have you've been with Weaver for your entire professional career, right?
Yeah, been with the firm for 5 years now.
Mm.
Yeah, so far it's going really good. Really like if you work at like a mid-tier firm, they give you a lot more like, control and decision making versus if you work like at a big four firm. So that's definitely one thing you want to consider if you're choosing between like mid-tier and big four. Big four is like very, very good for resume and you get to work on like a lot of big clients. But then a lot of the time stuff is kind of set up a certain way and you're kind of forced to follow those rules, if that makes sense. Mid-tier and growing firms, because they're growing, give you a lot more opportunities for like creativity. So if you're like that type of person like me who likes to have a say in the decisions and likes to have a say in how things will get done, you'll definitely like, mid-tier and maybe even local firms a lot more than like big four firms, because they give you a lot more opportunities to speak up, offer suggestions and change stuff up. Because trying to go to like a big four firm and change up how they've been doing stuff for this long is very, very hard. Trying to change how a firm is growing its financial services practice, which just started growing 2 years ago, you'll probably have a higher chance of making an impact in that.
Okay. Well, while we have people here, let's do a quick screenshot and then afterwards I can repeat the announcements so we have something to give to our marketing team. If everyone could turn on their camera just for, the final screenshot, that would be greatly appreciated. Mm-hmm. All right.
Cool. I'll be doing the countdown. So, all right. 3, 2, 1. Awesome.
All right, and let me pull up the announcements again, just so I can do a reminder. We obviously have Meet the Firms on Wednesday, the government panel on Thursday, and our mock interviews this Saturday, I think. Yeah, 9 to 4. So if you want to recruit with people with, obviously, I think, let me check what the actual topic is for Meet the Firms. I think it's on the regional one. Someone could back me up on that.
Regional and local.
Okay, yeah, so it is regional and local. So you will find a lot more like mid-tier and smaller firms like Majid just mentioned. So if you're looking for, something on the more chill side, that is a good time to network and, meet people and actually ask them questions and try and get a tab on how things are going. With that said, thank you so much for presenting, Majid. It was very, very much appreciated. The meme choice was delightful.
Thanks, guys, for having me. Happy to hear that.
All right. In that case, I think we shall let people go off to their days.
Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
everyone for joining us.
And
Thank you, Majid.
thank you again for presenting.